If the NBA postseason started with the standings as is, the Toronto Raptors would be facing off against the Brooklyn Nets in the first round of the playoffs. So, in the event that they actually do meet up in the first round, how would the series go? Who has the upper hand? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports, everybody. Jacob Jefferson here talking about the potential Toronto Raptors versus Brooklyn Nets matchup in the first round of the playoffs. I've done a couple of these videos. I already did a Raptors matchup against the Celtics as well as the Bucks, and they are doing very well. So decided to do another video highlighting a potential playoff matchup. This time, the Brooklyn Nets. They are currently in 7th, like I said, and you know what? There's a lot of Brooklyn fans out there who really think that the Brooklyn Nets would take down the Raptors in the playoffs. After they beat us, causing the end of our 15-game win streak, our franchise record, Brooklyn Nets fans had a lot to say all over social media. They honestly thought that they could beat the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs. And that was with a full-strength Brooklyn Nets team. The reality is, this is not a full-strength Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, we knew they wouldn't have KD the whole time. And Brooklyn fans knew that they never were going to have KD in the playoffs. But it looks like Kyrie Irving is not going to be taking part in the playoffs in the bubble in Orlando. Spencer Dinwiddie has had 2 positive tests, so he will not be playing. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie needs to stay inside his goddamn house. DeAndre Jordan is not playing. Wilson Chandler is not playing. Nick Claxton and Taurean Prince are also not playing. A lot of names out for the Brooklyn Nets, which leaves a pretty depleted team out on the floor. The Toronto Raptors have nobody who is not partaking in the bubble in Orlando. Therefore, they are going to be full strength. And a full-strength Raptors team against a full-strength Brooklyn Nets team would win in either 5 or 6 games. The Raptors would not lose that series. I know, in the Celtics video and the Bucks video, I said, acknowledge that maybe your team might lose this series, understand, but the Raptors are not going to lose this series. The Brooklyn Nets would have lost the series full strength, and the fact that they are missing basically their core group means the Raptors will wipe them in this series. I mean, just think about the potential Brooklyn Nets starting 5. We're probably working with Caris LeVert. Honestly, I think the best Brooklyn 5 would be Caris LeVert starting at point guard, Garrett Temple at the 2, Joe Harris at the 3, Rodion Kurucs at the 4, and Jarrett Allen at the 5. It is by no means a playoff starting 5. The Raptors have Lowry, Van Vliet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Marc Gasol starting, with Serge Ibaka and Norman Powell as their 6th and 7th man. Honestly, I don't think a single player in this hypothetical Brooklyn 5 that I've given you, the hypothetical starting 5 that I just gave you, I don't think there is a single player on that team that starts or gets in the first 7 for the Toronto Raptors. And I'm being nice by putting Caris LeVert at point guard. I think that's what they kind of have to do. There's not a lot of action going on there with the Nets at the point guard position. I mean, they just signed Tyler Johnson, but that guy's basically a G League player in my honest and brutal opinion. There is no chance any of that Brooklyn starting 5 I just named starts for the Toronto Raptors. I mean, you could make a case for Caris LeVert at the small forward positions because, maybe he's better offensively than OG Anunoby, but the things that OG Anunoby offers you on defense absolutely trumps Caris LeVert's game. Maybe there's an argument there for Caris LeVert starting over OG Anunoby, but I would rather start OG. Then you get to Serge Ibaka and Norman Powell coming off the bench. Well, in the case of Serge Ibaka, maybe you could talk about Jarrett Allen getting ahead of him, but Serge Ibaka is way, way better than Jarrett Allen on offense, whether it's in the paint or it's on the perimeter. Jarrett Allen has a non-existent perimeter game. Serge Ibaka is actually quite good from the perimeter, and he's better in the paint. On defense, maybe you'll say Jarrett Allen's a better defender, but he's not. Serge Ibaka is just as good of a defender, if not better. In fact, Serge Ibaka has a better defensive rating over 100 possessions. Admittedly, it's very close, but Serge Ibaka is just that much better on offense. When it comes to Norman Powell, maybe again you could make the case for Caris LeVert, but Norman Powell has much better averages for what the Raptors need coming off the bench. A spot-up shooter. He's shooting 50, 40, 90 this season and was not in the Bleacher Report top 100 NBA players. But Caris LeVert averaging 17 points. Norman Powell only averaging 16, but shooting percentages just a couple ticks down. I mean, a lot of ticks down in the field goal department. I mean, Norman Powell is shooting about 50% and Caris LeVert shooting about 42%. And from 3, Norman Powell is better. So I think for what the Raptors need, Norman Powell definitely gets in over Caris LeVert. Therefore, none of the Brooklyn starting 5 in this bubble roster that I think this is the best 5 they can put out, none of them would start or be the 6th or 7th man for the Toronto Raptors. And for that reason, the Raptors will destroy Brooklyn in this series. I'll be nice. 5 games, maybe Brooklyn steal one, but this one could end in 4. The Nets have a horrible starting 5. I think that team would have a very high lottery pick if they were to play the whole season like that. And their bench just gets even worse. They added a Jamal Crawford, who is the oldest player in the NBA now. We really don't know what he has to offer anymore. I know in his last NBA game, he put up 50 or 50 plus points, but it's been a long time since he played basketball, and he's getting older. I don't think he's going to be a huge factor. Their bench is even worse than the starting 5, and the Raptors, what they do have is a very deep bench. So even if somehow that Brooklyn starting 5 can actually keep up with the Toronto Raptors starting 5, just wait till the benches come out, because the Raptors are going to absolutely eat. They're going to feast on that Brooklyn bench. There's a few guys in this Brooklyn team who are good when there's other good players around them, being Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert is a good player. I like Caris LeVert. He can run point guard, I think, for that 5, like I was saying, maybe rotate with Garrett Temple for that position. But I think Caris LeVert is a strong player who can run the show for Brooklyn. But Joe Harris is a guy who needs stars around him. He's a spot-up shooter, and a very good spot-up shooter at that. I like Joe Harris, and I think when Brooklyn are full strength with a Kevin Durant back, Joe Harris is a perfect off-piece for those kind of stars. Just, finds a spot, gets open, hits his threes. And I think Jarrett Allen is a great interior defender for a big. He blocks a lot of shots, and he gets 10 points a game. That's what you want from your big, and I think Jarrett Allen's a good player. But all these guys, they need those stars around them. They cannot be the stars on their own. The Raptors have a lot of very lethal weapons on offense. Their perimeter game is phenomenal. Lowry, Van Vliet, Norman Powell. Siakam is really developing his 3-point game. Serge Ibaka is as well. Marc Gasol is skinny again. Maybe he's going to be even better from the perimeter than he already was. OG is decent from the perimeter. Needs to be a bit more consistent, but is decent. Terrence Davis is also a perimeter shooter. Matt Thomas, who alluded to the fact that, even though you're in a different surrounding in Orlando, the 3-point line is the same length. He is comfortable shooting the 3. He's absolutely wet. So with so many weapons on offense, this Raptors team would beat a full-strength Brooklyn team in 5 or 6 games. The fact that Brooklyn are missing such a great core of players in Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Wilson Chandler, and among other players, the Raptors are going to absolutely wipe the floor. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to say 5, but this could end in 4. A 4-game sweep of the Brooklyn Nets. And any Brooklyn fans watching, oh my God, you cannot tell me you have any sort of hope in winning this series. Again, I feel a little bit hypocritical in this situation, because I always like to acknowledge, that anybody discussing anything in the comments, acknowledge the fact that there's another team out there trying to win the game, and there's a potential that they can win the series. But honestly, looking at what Brooklyn have to offer, the kind of guys that they picked up to replace the people who opted out, like Tyler Johnson, I just cannot even I can't even fathom a situation in which the Raptors do not advance in this series. So sorry, Brooklyn fans. Maybe next year when KD's back, you guys are definitely going to be a threat. You have a great lineup when KD's back, and hopefully Kyrie Irving sorts everything out and he's actually there to be playing those games and wants to play those games. But this season, this series is going to be a walk in the park for the Toronto Raptors. What do you think about this series? Do you think the Raptors are going to have it as easy as I am alluding to? Do you think the Brooklyn Nets are going to make it hard? Do you think the Brooklyn Nets actually have a chance of winning the series? I personally do not think so. I mean, like another thing, like the coaching. We got Coach of the Year Nick Nurse going up against a coach who wasn't even there start of the season. Maybe the Brooklyn Nets aren't used to him. Maybe they don't like him as much. So again, Nick Nurse is going to walk in the park with these guys. But that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, thank you so much again for the 200 subs. We are on a journey with this channel. Thank you. If you are sticking around for it, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this. Lots of Raptors content coming your way as well. Hit that notification bell. We post 4 times a week. Stay up to date with the content. Well, we post 4 times a week, except not this week. Saturday I will be out of town, but Friday there will be an episode. Nothing Saturday, but back at it again on Monday. Thank you again for watching. At the end of the day, believe what I say. If you disagree, that's okay. See you again next time.